You meet a man. He's funny, attentive. He actually listens to you. You go on a date and you get home with sore cheeks from laughing. He says all the right things, wants the same things. It feels easy and rare. Dates turn into a relationship and you think, this is exactly what you've been looking for. Now imagine discovering that everything he told you was a lie, and you're only one of many women that he has on the go. This is the story of Filthy John, a compulsive liar, a manipulator, a man with a serious drug problem, a habit of stealing, and a dangerous temper. On the surface, he was hilarious, affectionate, the perfect man. But behind the scenes, he was creating chaos in multiple women's lives, lying to them, mirroring their personalities, love bombing, stealing, vanishing, reappearing, and slowly wrecking their sense of reality. These women didn't just overlap, their lives became tangled in the most bizarre ways. In this podcast, you'll hear from 4 of them. 4 women brave enough to sit down and tell their story. There are more, but some of them are still too scared to speak. This is a story about manipulation, survival, and the power that comes when women start comparing notes. Kim met John online in September 24. She thought he was charming, articulate, stylish, and effortlessly engaging. Everything about him clicked with her. They bonded over shared hobbies, launching straight into long conversations that made it all feel so easy and natural.
And what he does is he has a natural ability to be able to hone in on what you like and what you dislike and morph himself into this kind of like a chameleon thing of morphing himself into being this person, this ideal person that you think you want in your life. So probably very early on, we were supposed to meet up. He had rang me the night before and the phone call started at 10:10 at night and it ended at about 8:20 in the morning, the next morning. So it was an astronomical period of time. So there was nothing that there was nothing that gave me any indication that this guy was in a relationship. I was like, there's no possible way he could be in a relationship. He's spending so much time on the phone. Also, from the very first time you get talking to him, he never stops with the phone calls, text messages, the video calls. It is all the time. There's not an hour goes by where you're not getting some form of contact. This conversation went on all night anyway, and subsequently now I know that it was aided and abetted due to copious amounts of drugs, but at the time I didn't know that.
But what seemed like the beginning of something real was about to take a sharp turn. Kim was about to see just how quickly John could take things to another level. The very next day he video called her, sobbing, shaking, and completely distraught.
The next day, about 11:15 the next day, he rings me, he video calls me, hysterically crying. I mean, sobbing, shaking. I could see tears coming down and he is roaring. He's unable to tell me exactly what's wrong. So I'm like trying to placate him and I'm like, calm down, just tell me what's wrong, tell me what's wrong. And he says, my mum is dead, my mum is dead. And I was like, what? I was like, oh my God, what's after happening? Now I'm an empath, so straight away I just wanted to mother him. So, pun unintended, but so he kept going on about his mum, and his mum has actually been taken into Wexford General. And I was like, okay, listen, just calm down. He's like, I'm going to have to go in. I said, go in and just see where the lie of the land is. Have you spoken to your sisters? Yes. My sister is telling me that that I need to get there urgently. So I said, okay. It's probably about, now I'm not from Wexford, so I wouldn't know how long it would take him to get from his home to Wexford General. But about 45 minutes later, he rings me and he says to me that he's been in the hospital and his sisters have asked him to go and get supplies for the mum. She needs pajamas and she needs bits and bobs. And I was like, okay, well, look, that's a really good thing. That's a good sign. If she needs a pajamas, well, then that's a good sign. Take that as a good sign. So he's like, yeah, but I don't have my bank card. I'm after coming out. I'm after forgetting my bank card. And again, high pressure situation. I'm by no means stupid in any shape or form. But it was such a high pressured call and situation. When he asked me to revolute some money to him, I said, okay, no problem. Now, he leads you to believe that he has plenty of money. Plenty of money. So that was fine. I had to Revolut the money over. So I sent over €50. Now, he doesn't have Revolut. So his brother-in-law gave him his Revolut card and I sent the €50 to this card, to this number. So that was fine. Told me more of it. Maybe about 20 minutes later, he calls me back and he's like, baby, I'm really, really sorry, but I need, could I get a little bit more off of you? I'm meeting you later on this evening and I'll send it back. Send me your IBAN number and I'll send it straight back. Again, high pressure situation. So I sent him 75. That was fine. I'm thinking, listen, I'm seeing him later on this evening. If the mum is okay, obviously. I'm seeing him later on this evening. I'll get it back. Job done. Everything's fine. So later on that evening then, I met him. I met him in Bagnallstown, or it's the time that I'd known him. And I am very well aware that I was very stupid. And again, he's no wallet because he hasn't been home now because he's been in the hospital all day. And I said, look, we just go to the hotel in Bagnallstown. I wanted to get a coffee anyway. Went in, I paid for the drinks, the whole lot. From the very first moment you meet this man, this is how well honed in this individual is. He makes you feel like you are the most special and unique person in the world. He will tell you everything you have ever wanted to hear in every relationship you've ever been in. It's unbelievable. From the stuff that he spoke to how he lured Monica in, how he lured Linda in. Same with me. He is able to look through your soul with these big, blue, piercing eyes. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's gentle. He's affectionate. He's just everything that you always thought you wanted in life. So we walked around. He had said to me that evening, I have sent the money back to you. Don't worry. It's in your account. It'll probably take a couple of days because I'm with Ulster Bank. I was like, grand, no bother at all. I came home and he actually drove me home. So I actually got on the train down to meet him. He had said, I'll drive you back to Kildare. And I was like, no, I'll get the train home. It's absolutely fine. He's like, no, I have never met anybody like you in my life. He was like, I'm going to have to apologize to my daughter's mum because like, I thought that I experienced love. I thought I experienced love before when I was with my daughter's mum, but I have never experienced love like this before. Just everything about you is just the woman that I wanted in my life, and I'm going to have to apologize. He was like, Jesus, this lad is just too good to be true. Like, I've hit the jackpot with this man. This is it now. Tell you what he does as well. He listens to you, and the girls can confirm this. He listens to you. So I had said, I would absolutely love to stay in a castle. I'd love to go and stay in a castle. It's just something that I like. I like history. I just want to go and stay in a castle. Whilst I was having this fucking marathon phone call with him that lasted like 8 hours or something, he said, check your WhatsApp. So I went in and I checked my WhatsApp. He had a booking in the WhatsApp for me for he was bringing me to Clontarf Castle and we were staying in a suite, all inclusive, everything paid for, and I could see the booking there and then. I could see it. So of course I brought tears to my eyes. I was like, oh my God, can't believe somebody's done this for me. It's so expensive, but don't worry about it, Kim, because like I'm so busy with my work. Like I'm just out the door. So this is my treat to you because you deserve it.
Kim didn't think twice about checking whether the money had actually landed in her account. But 2 days later, while sending her child money through Revolut, she noticed it wasn't there.
I just sent him a message and I sat for about 10 minutes trying to create a message that didn't sound like I was looking for my money back, even though rightly so I should be looking for my money back because I'd given him €50 on Revolut, then another 75. And then when he had driven me home here, he had asked me, he was like, oh my God, the diesel light is on. Jeez, oh my God, how am I going to get home? I felt guilty. And all I had in cash on me was conveniently enough for him, was another 50. So that was all in one night. So it's like 175 or whatever, 100 in one night. Yeah, so I sat and I created this text message and I sent it to him. And this is when the ghosting would start, when something occurred or something happened, but he didn't want to answer. So I didn't hear from him for about 3 days after that, maybe 2-3 days after that. He read the text and he just didn't answer me. I was like, well, clearly not getting this back. But I kind of, at the time, I was still kind of suckered in. For me, I was like, oh, look, I'm not going to upset him now because, he's going through a hard time and his poor mum.
With his mother unwell in hospital, John said it would be best to cancel the stay at Clontarf Castle and to stay nearby in a Wexford hotel instead, just in case anything happened and he needed to get there quickly.
So he looked up some hotels in Wexford and he came up with whatever hotel, White's, the Clayton. And he said, he sent me the link and he said, how about this one? I said, fine, grand, no problem at all. And I said to him maybe about an hour and a half later, I was like, have you booked that? And he's like, oh no, look, I'm in the hospital here. Would you be able to book it? And I'll make sure that you're sorted out. And I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. That's no problem. I booked it. Paid for it, obviously. Oh, so cute. Oh my God, he's so cute. I booked it and paid for it. And went down and we stayed in that hotel. I was just like, he basically wanted to go for dinner. I was like, no, I said, he said that his sister was going to come to the hotel with his card. His sister had the card and he was after giving his sister his card because she didn't have a lot of money and he wanted to treat her. And his sister was going to come to the hotel and the sister was going to give him his card back and he would pay for the hotel and all that jazz. And I said, yeah, grand, that's no problem at all. Still completely suckered in on this. I didn't realise what was going on really. And the sister never came. I said, well, do you want to go to your sister? He told me that his sister and the father and all of his aunts and uncles that are home from England were in a pub. And I said, well, do you want to go and you can get your card? And he was like, oh God, no, I don't want to be around them. Like they're too fond of drink. They're alcoholics and I don't want to be next to near them. And no. This is when the shine was starting to come off of him. I'm after paying for this hotel. You told me you were going to pay for it. I'm after paying 180 quid for a hotel here. There's no way on this earthly world, Boyo, I am going to be paying for your dinner. So I turned around and I said to him, well, what cash have you got? And he kind of rooted into the pocket and he took out like $5. And I said, should you get your bag of chips? Come on, we go to the chippers. I don't think by then I was fully convinced that he was lying to me, but there was definitely a dullness was starting to come over the shine of him anyway. But he had also started homing in on my personality in the sense that you're always happy. It's not normal to be always happy. But it is, actually. If you're always in good form, like I'm always in good form, that's not fake. He told me I was fake. He did this to me while I was holding a very important work meeting and I was doing a face-to-face. I was working from home. I was doing a face-to-face meeting and he sent me this abuse where I had my phone kind of in front of me and I'm trying to continue a meeting while he's sending a lot of this kind of verbal abuse at me. It was incredibly difficult. That's the way he goes. It was actually, when you speak with the rest of the girls, you'll realize it wasn't that he was going between two moods. He was treating us all with different moods. So he could be sending Monica lovely messages and been so nice and warm to her. And he could be absolutely vile to Linda and I in the same 2 minutes of texting. He can tell Linda one story and he could be literally telling me another.
After comparing timelines with the other women, Kim realised she had been sitting in a hotel in Bagnallstown having coffee with John on Monica's birthday.
We were not together. We were on one of those. There was a small hiccup. I don't remember even what happened. There were so many of those that I cannot remember for the sake of God. I know that we had a fight. He just texted me on my birthday that he was going to drop my birthday present and leave it on the patio in my garden, messages in tears and And while he was with Kim, he was sending me teary messages. He's at home and all he can do is think about me and how sorry he is. All that crap. I honestly, I really have to go back to the messages and check. Because a few days later, he admitted to me that he took drugs. Because I always asked him, I said, listen, if you ever slip up, just tell me, it's easier to work on things if I know. Because I always knew, but he would always deny. Like I knew all his sins, that I was with him long enough to recognize every single smallest sign of him being on drugs. And I think now what actually happened, he knew that he was going away with Kim, and he needed to sabotage that freedom on my birthday. And I'd say that's what it was. He told me, because this was the first time ever that he just randomly came to my house and said, oh, I'm sorry, baby, I made such a stupid thing. I took drugs, and like 2 days before that. So I'd say he had the date with Kim lined up, and how he was desperately looking for some sort of excuse. And I'd say he was running out of excuses of a normal kind of type. So I'd say that's what it was. That's why he told me that he took drugs. And yes, so he let me present that evening, I think, or that afternoon. And then he drove straight to Wexford. So while still holding hands with Kim, texting me, that he's just so missing me so badly.
And I went to that hotel to be a support. Because as far as I was concerned, this guy's mum was really, really sick, absolutely on death's door. I felt so sorry for him. And that's why I arranged that. So then he tells me he gets a call into the hospital. The family all have to go in, and they're turning off the mum's machine on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And I was so upset. Like, I was literally saying prayers for this woman. Like, I really was. Like, I was saying prayers. I was like, this is awful. I was just so sad for them. So at 4:45 on the Wednesday, he sends me a message, and I swear to God, the message said, right, that's done. And I was like, what's done? And I was ringing him and he wasn't answering the phone. And I was texting him and he wasn't answering the phone. And maybe 2 hours later, he tells me, I'm sorry, baby, I'm really, really sorry. I was just so caught up in grief, and like, I'm just so sad. And, all of my family is here, and, my uncles and aunt are home from England. I'm not able to take the stress of it and all of this kind of stuff. So I was like, look, this man is seriously going through his stuff. Like, this is not good. So I started looking at RIP.ie, nothing on it. I started going on to Southeast Radio to see, was there anything up there? Nothing was up there. The woman never passed away. She was never even in hospital. The woman is very much alive and is a mother of, he's got 7 or 8 brothers and sisters. But every time I would bring it up about, like, why wasn't it on RIP? Like, and he was like, well, why are you stalking me? So I'm not stalking you. It's so unusual. Then I was told, well, Wexford people don't use RIP.ie. And I said, well, that's really funny, because like, there's a whole tab for Wexford. Then there was nothing on the, there was nothing on Southeast Radio, because I obviously went and I looked at that. I was very, very close, very close. Now, at this stage, I knew he was lying to me. I was very, very close to ring the parish priest in his hometown to find out, did that woman pass away? He had let slip the names of his sisters, and I had taken a look at their Facebook pages to see, did they have anything up? And I saw that one of his siblings had posted a recent picture, and I looked into the comments and I saw that his mum had told her that she looked beautiful. And I was like, okay, this woman is definitely not dead. Definitely not dead. But he described the funeral. He described how much it was. He described the coffin. I asked him, was there music at the funeral? And he was like, no, we don't do that here. He described how the parking was mayhem around where the funeral was, because the school was coming out at the same time. Oh, the level of detail was unbelievable. He described exactly what he was wearing. He told me, he rang me then. He said the funeral was at, I cannot remember now whether it was 11 or half 11, but it was one or the other. And he rang me at 12:15, and I said, where are you going? I said, why are you ringing me like? And he was like, yeah. I just have to go and feed my dogs. And I was like, oh, by the way, he doesn't have dogs. He doesn't have dogs at all. But he was feeding these ghost dogs, and which is really unfortunate given that his mum had passed away. But he was feeding the dogs, and I was looking at the timeline, literally looking at the time going, there is no way a woman would be, have the church ceremony, the burial, the wake, or even just afterwards. And then he's running to go and feed dogs in less than an hour and 15 minutes. So I knew at that point, but still my whole being wouldn't let me just kind of cut the ties. At this stage then, I just wanted to prove myself right. I really wanted to prove myself right. So I sent him a message, a big long message, and I said to him, he had ghosted me again. And what we have noticed ourselves going through the timeline with various women, because there's 8 of us now, is that you can literally, when he ghosts you, we have been able to go, okay, he was with Linda for those days, or he was doing something with Monica, or the other ladies. So like we know his movements. We've tracked and traced them pretty much. But he ghosted me then for about a week, and I sent him a message and I said, I will never understand why you lied to me about your mum passing away. I will never understand it. I just cannot get my head around it. I know she's not dead. I've seen her post on your sister's postings, and it's just mind-boggling. I don't understand it. So I let that sit, and maybe 2 or 3 days later on a Friday, he video called me out of the blue. When I tell you, I shook like a tree for about 3 minutes while I was on the phone to him. I was like, and he was like, baby, I don't understand why you're saying that. I am just going through depression. It's not you. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I don't want to talk to anybody. It's not you. My mom is dead. I don't understand why you're saying stuff like this to me and all of that. Everything was softly and gentle. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I'll ring you later. That was fine. He rang me up and he said to me, did you put me on Facebook? And I said, no. And he said, you didn't put me up on Are We Dating the Same Guy? And I was like, oh, yeah, I did. But I had it up for 22 minutes, literally timed 22 minutes. But when he asked me, did I put him up on Facebook? I thought he meant on my own Facebook page. And that's why I initially went, no. This is why he called me Charlotte. So Charlotte's Web, lies. Fucking Charlotte's Web after what he did. So when he found out anyway that I was after putting him up on the thing, this is why he made contact with me again. He didn't make contact with me because he was after coming out of his depression session. He made contact with me because he wanted revenge. For a 2.5 day period, he had me traumatized. Absolutely traumatized. He had me crying, he had me feeling really bad, he had me then convinced that the mum did die and I was the world's biggest arsehole going. But he said, my sister is after seeing me up on that page. I have to explain to my sisters are going mad. I can't introduce you now to my family because they'll hate you. I was like, I will explain to your sisters why I did it. I am so in the wrong. I am so sorry. This is all my fault. I was just unbelievably upset. About a week after that, he said, look, I think we need to see each other face to face. And I said, okay.
Kim believed the storm had passed, that John was ready to move on and forgive her for accusing him of lying. But what she didn't realise was that John had been biding his time. This was all part of the plan, and things were about to take a very dark turn.
When he came in, he was sweetness and light. He made food for my daughter. We walked up to the shop. He wanted to get some drinks because he said he wanted to relax fully and open up fully. Now, in my mind, I was like, this lad is going to fucking tell me that mother didn't die. So I said, grand, no problem. I drink Bulmers, I don't drink shorts. But he wanted a bottle of whiskey, which I thought was really unusual. Because one of the things I have said when I'm dating somebody is I do not want to be around somebody who is very drunk. I just can't deal with it. So this whole drinking of whiskey thing to me was like, I was like, says, man, no way. And he goes, no. He said, we get a bottle of whiskey and we'll take little shots of it and it'll be fine. So we walked up. Again, it was my card that paid for the whiskey and food that he wanted and the takeaway that he ordered. Takes 2 steps back. I'm sure the girls will probably be able to tell you that. Takes 2 steps back. But even when he ordered food, when he rang a takeaway here in Kildare and he ordered food, and I said to him, "Are you paying cash?" And he goes, "Sure, or card or whatever." And I said, "Right." So I sat on the couch, and next thing he turned around, again a highly pressurized situation, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll get you the card number now." And he's like, "Go get your card. Go get your card." And like an absolute dope, toddled on and got my card. The big long message that I sent him when I said, "I know your mum's not dead. I don't know why you did that." I said to him, "I'm a single mother. I don't have 175. At this stage, we're now up to 390 euros. I said, "I don't have that level of money to be thrown around." I put that into the message. He completely ignored that part. Completely, never addressed it, nothing. So we were here with the whiskey, and I was kind of proud of myself because I wasn't very drunk, but I was happy. But I thought, Jesus, if I drink whiskey shots, I'll be absolutely pumped out in the hospital. But no, I matched him. I was kind of happy enough.
Kim and John continued drinking that night, and things took a deeply troubling turn. Out of respect for Kim and her privacy, I won't be sharing the details here.
Because I guarantee I'm not the first person, but he's probably done this too. The response to that was, "That's your punishment now." I was like, "What?" "That's your punishment for putting me up. And are we dating the same guy?" Yeah. That's why it's so important. That's why we found each other. That's the reason why it's so important to stop this horrible, horrible bastard. He had said that day as well in messages, and I was like, he had said a few times, "Don't forget now, your punishment is tonight." I was like, yeah, of course, yeah, whatever. By Jesus Christ, he meant it. Yeah, he meant it. He meant it. So obviously after that, then I didn't have anything to do with him. He did stay in the house that night. He did. But I didn't know what to do. I was in shock, definitely in shock, 100% in shock. And he left then the next morning, and then I didn't really have many dealings with him after that. When he was supposed to come up another time, and he told me that he couldn't because his daughter didn't want to stay in his sister's house, and there was a few bits and bobs. But by then, the shine was definitely gone off him by then. And then I started requesting the money back on Revolut to the number, and it was declined. So I was like, okay, so there's a person at the other end of this Revolut. There is a person, like. So I went back in and said I requested it again, and I was declined again. So this time I put in a little introduction message, and I said, "Hi," I said, "I'm really sorry." I said, "I believe you are John Beep's brother-in-law. When his mum was in hospital, I sent him this money so that he could get her some supplies. I haven't heard from him in a couple of weeks. I'd like my money back. Can you ask him to send it back to me?" Christmas Eve came, and I got a message from this guy, and the message said, "I'm really sorry. Can you explain to me what you mean? I actually don't know what you mean." So I was like, right, okay. I sent a bigger message, explained the whole thing, explained that I was told that this person was John's brother-in-law and all of that. So the chap came back and said to me, "I'm really sorry. This money was sent to me because John owes me a lot of money for drugs, and that's what he was paying. I am nothing. I'm no relation to John. I'm sorry that this has happened to you, but you're going to have to take it up with him." So I checked back and I said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Drug Dealer." And said, "Mr. Drug Dealer." I said, "Thank you very much." I said, "I appreciate the honesty." I said, "Can I just ask you one more thing?" I said, "Would you happen to know, is John's mother dead or alive?" Clearly I couldn't let it go. And he came back and he said, "John's mother is alive and well. No, alive and kicking. I saw her just the other day." And I said, "Thank you very much." And he said, "I'm sorry that this has happened to you, but I can't help you with the money. You're going to have to take it up with John yourself." So that was Christmas Eve. I then sent John a text message and I said, The money that you asked me for when your mum was sick, dying, bracket, not dead, was used to pay for your drug habit. You are a scumbag. My phone practically levitated with the amount of action that was happening. He rang and rang and rang and rang. My friends are like, is that not driving you mad? I was like, nope. They were like, do you not want to answer it? I was like, no. I said, to be told more lies? Certainly not. So I came home. I was getting ready to go out. I recorded a 4.5-minute message, 4.5-minute voice message, where I basically told him everything that I knew, that the money was for the drugs, his mum hadn't passed away, called him out on his shitty behaviour, said to him, you know, I just don't understand why you would do something like that to me. You didn't ever have to do that. I will never forget signing off the 4.5-minute message with, I hope to God, I hope and pray that your little girl never meets a man like you, because it will destroy her. Sent the voice message. About an hour later, I noticed that or a couple of hours later, I noticed that he hadn't read it. I sent a message on normal messages and I said, I have left you a voice, I've left you a voice message. Please read it or please listen to it or whatever. And that's where Monica came in. And that's how Monica found out the rest of the story. It was my message. I was Charlotte. It was my message that led myself and Monica to becoming friends. And then Linda comes into the story then.
I knew about Linda's existence from the period of us being on another break. And it was a kind of longish time that time, probably about 6 months, that I decided enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. You know, I really need to take care of myself. We can stay friends, but we're definitely not going back together as a couple. We started dating. I went on different dating sites. He went on different dating sites. And so we went together. We're just friends. He was still in my house. We were friends with benefits. Now I do have to say that. Probably not the healthiest way to go about it, but it is what it is. I remember during that period, he invited me to go with him and his daughter to Dublin to Dublin Zoo to see those was the Christmas lights. And at that stage, I had 2 pups that I got from the shelters like a few months before. And I told him that I don't think I would be going. First of all, you know, we weren't in a good place, even as friends. It's just a bit awkward. And second of all, I can't really. Who do you think? Where do I find someone to take my dogs for New Year's Eve? You know, the 2 pups is different with 1 pup. It's very difficult. So I told him probably not, but I'll think about it. And obviously I couldn't go. He wasn't very happy about it. He kept, you know, telling me, though, you know, oh, he paid for it already. It's all booked, and he didn't know what to do. And then he told me at the end, a few days before, that he was going with Linda, Matthew, and their daughter. I was all right. He knew them from a long time ago. I actually saw him talking to Linda a few times on WhatsApp. Yeah, I remember once I even asked him, was the story with a big picture of Linda's face showing on your screen when she rings? I said, oh, no, it's just the one of those things that iPhone has, you know, like, yeah, you know. He said, well, I don't have an iPhone. So they went to Dublin. I stayed at home. And he was kind of texting me from that trip. He was sending me photographs from the car park in Gorey, showing me how Linda's husband parked his car very poorly. And then he was sending me photographs from the actual zoo and all the lights. And then he rang me a couple of times in the evening time. And then he rang me just before midnight. And then when I rang him back shortly after midnight, he told me, he just texted me, oh, I can't talk to you now because, you know, my daughter has just gone to sleep, which I thought was very strange. Like 11 minutes past midnight, she's already in bed, but I was knackered anyway. So I said, okay, probably better. He rang me next day and he was sending me photographs from Powerscourt where they called in for, you know, to see the waterfall and stuff. And then about February, his ex-partner, which is his daughter's mom, contacted me. So that was grand. The whole New Year's Eve was party. It was just one of those things. Never had a suspicion about anything.
In February 24, Monica threw John out once more, this time after discovering he was trying to pursue her work colleague. Then she got a text from John's ex-partner, the mother of his child, asking, "Are you still with John?" Monica replied, "Not anymore. I kicked him out 2 weeks ago."
And she asked me, "Oh, were you told that Matthew was Linda's husband?" I said, "Yes. They went together to Dublin." She says, "Well, no. Matthew is Linda's son." He's like, "Secure?" Matthew wasn't Linda's husband, and John went with Linda and her daughter. There was no man involved, in Linda's life at that stage. And so I got really pissed off at that. We had a huge fight, which wasn't really a fight with John. John was fighting with me for just very complicated reasons. He messed me up.
John was furious when he found out the women in his life were sharing information with each other, and he demanded to know exactly who was involved.
He was trying to find out who gave his ex-partner certain information. Didn't really come from me. It was just, he was trying to run an investigation that he wasn't able for because he was still, I think, very heavily on drugs. And I wasn't given the information that he needed. For that, he shared my very intimate voice messages with a guy from my past. He sent them to his phone.
Monica shared a difficult experience about John that really showed how manipulative he could be. Early on in their relationship, John was acting strangely, not sleeping and staying up late, which everyone thought might be due to ADHD or some kind of hyperactivity. But one night, around 3 a.m, he came into Monica's bedroom holding his phone. He showed her that he had gone through her messages while she was asleep and had recorded some voice messages between her and an acquaintance that were intimate and flirtatious from months before. John had threatened Monica before, saying he would use those recordings against her if things ever went wrong. But this time, he actually did. These voice messages were from a brief moment when Monica and her acquaintance had exchanged heavy flirting one evening. It amounted to nothing more than that. At the time, though, her acquaintance was married, something Monica really regrets. That night, John sent those messages to the man involved via Facebook. But why? To embarrass Monica? To exert control? It's hard to say. What made it worse was that he didn't send them to the man's personal Facebook, but to his business page, which was managed by the man's wife. Naturally, she discovered and listened to the voice messages, which must have been devastating for her. Shortly after, she reached out to Monica.
When I found out, because the poor woman reached out to me a few days later saying, listen, you better check your socials because it looks like stuff is leaking out. There's stuff all over social media between you and my husband. So, oh God. I couldn't listen to that. I was so horrified. I listened to the first, 3 words and how could I found out because I was just discussing with myself. But yes, so he tried to hurt me, but really he hurt that man and his woman, his wife.
John continued on his warpath, desperate to find out who was sharing information about him. Although he wasn't sure who was involved, his relentless suspicion and accusations made life miserable for many of the women around him.
That's how I find out about Linda actually being in a relationship with him. And when I finally, when the things come down and I asked him about it, I wasn't really looking for details. I just presumed that they were together for a very short period of time, 3 months maybe max, probably beginning of New Year's till February or whatever, 2024. And he never told me otherwise, to be honest. He was just telling me, after that, he was telling me that, they're just friends. Linda is very much in love with him still. But, I'm the love of his life. And, he just tried to be a good friend for her. And he would be sending me screenshots, very carefully cropped screenshots, by the way, of his conversations with Linda. And she would be telling him, please let me go. Please let me heal. I agree. We shouldn't be staying in touch. And he's telling her, no, I just want to be a friend. And I was telling him, just let her go. If you don't love her romantically, and she's asking you to just give her time and space, you should. I said, you're being selfish now. And she said, yeah, probably you're right. She, told me that I was right. And then next day he was harassing Linda, harassing, kind of sending, are you okay? Just want to be a friend. And he would not leave her alone, poor woman. So I knew they were in some sort of relationship, but I didn't know that it was long. So when I finally broke up with him, Linda was next on my list of people that I could contact.
Monica felt hesitant to reach out to Linda. Linda was a member of the Are We Dating the Same Guy group, and Monica had learned from the admin that Linda was still very much friends with John. Even more unsettling, Linda was tipping John off about posts about him from within the private, women-only group, which made Monica wary.
I wrote a message to Linda on Instagram. She responded back straight away, and we spoke that night. And that's where Linda comes.
Thank you for listening to part 2 of Filthy John. Please like, subscribe and share. In our next episode, we will meet Linda. If you've been affected by any of the issues mentioned, please know that you're not alone. Support is available. Reach out to Women's Aid or the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre for help and guidance.